Next, we're off to Napa. I know what you're thinking. Wine country, probably wine and chocolate. Well, at Anettes chocolate factory, they do mix wine and chocolate, but that's not why we're going. We're going for the beer brittle, to be exact. Anettes Chocolate Factory is in downtown Napa, California. And like all things Napa, the brother and sister who run this factory have a close relationship with the region's famous wineries.
Brent and I grew up in Napa. We even had a little winery as we grew up, did our own wines. And as we got into the chocolates here, we had started with these wine truffles that we're making. We wanted to encompass the feel of Napa Valley into the chocolate factory itself and also into the products we made.
A lot of visitors to Anettes are surprised to learn that one of the shop's signature treats spotlights beer instead of wine. Brent's beer brittle.
Try some. This is our beer brittle.
Okay. What's not surprising is that Brent's innovative wine recipes, from Cabernet truffles to port chocolate sauces, led to his first commissioned batch of beer brittle.
A brewery asked if we could do something with their beer, so we came up with beer brittle, and it was really popular for them. So we just continued it on, making it for ourselves, and it's done really well.
Brent had already been making a popular peanut brittle for the store. Working his favorite pale ale into the mix called for some finesse.
The beer was a little tricky. There's a little less butter in this than the peanut brittle, but the beer gives it a totally different flavor. It takes a lot longer to cook, though, than regular peanut brittle.
Since the extra liquid needs more cooking time, Brent uses raw peanuts.
The more the beer boils out, the peanuts will roast inside the brittle, and that's what gives the peanut brittle such a nice peanut taste.
While the water and alcohol evaporate, the yeast and hops from the beer spread throughout the brittle. Even though the mixer takes care of the stirring, Brent has to keep a close eye on the kettle.
Getting closer.
The art of the confectioner is all about timing. If it's undercooked, what you have is less candy than a mess of hot sugar. Overcooked candy is even worse. What Brent's watching for is something in between. Almost done, but not quite, because the brittle will cook from its own heat for a few minutes, even after Brent kills the flame. While the brittle is still hot, Brent adds baking soda.
We're putting the baking soda in. That will make the peanut brittle really nice and fluffy. You should see it should start coming right up to the top of the pot here. After we spread it out on the table, we want to take and we'll cut it and we'll flip it over, and then we'll take and stretch it. We want to stretch it again. We want to show off the nut, so we want to make it so it's easier to chew, not as thick, and it just gets a lot thinner.
A sprinkling of salt enhances the flavor of the roasted nuts, and it also brings out the yeast and hops that the beer has left behind. Who knew that wine country was having so much fun with beer? Freshness is everything.